What a mess the airline industry is, huh? Boeing is about to do 17,000 layoffs, and you don't know where these are going to hit. But a lot of you guys said some of them are going to be machinists and everything else. And to top it all off, Spirit Airlines is going to file for bankruptcy. I did a video, check this one out, way back. And I said, this is what we're going to see. And people in the comment section were like, no, we're not going to see Spirit Airlines file for bankruptcy. And I said, most likely we are. And then people were like, no, this can't be right. So this is why I'm telling you that they're going to file for bankruptcy, because it's just not a low budget carrier. And people said, yeah, it is a low budget carrier. And let's go over the numbers. And people got really upset that I said, hey, if we're going to fly from Las Vegas to Florida during spring break with Frontier, and I think I did 3 comparisons. I think I did Frontier, I did Spirit, and I did American. And it came out to, if you have luggage and some other stuff, Spirit Airline wasn't that much cheaper than actually flying American. And when you have an airline and you're comparing prices, it's just not that transparent. And when you're looking at all these prices that they have, and it's like they nickel and dime you everywhere. And so let's look at what I came up with, because I think this is really interesting. So the video about the shocking future of Spirit Airline bankruptcy was published on October 18th. So go and watch that one if you want to. And I looked at from New York to Miami flights, and I compared American again, and I compared Spirit Airlines. And so the first one from Spirit Airlines from LaGuardia to Miami, the whole total is going to be $254. And I looked at American, and the round trip is going to be $212. So now I'm going to ask you, how or would you actually fly Spirit, or would you fly American? And it's just, for me, it's just like, it's so untransparent. The whole process of booking airlines and trying to figure out pricing is just so not transparent. Because if you book $100 flight, then there's going to be a whole bunch of extra charges that are going to be added onto it, that it's going to increase the rate. So there's going to be a federal tax of 7.5% of the base fare for a $100 ticket. That's what I kind of looked at, would be $7.5. Then a September 11 security fee, that'd be $5.60 per one way. A passenger facility charge up to $4.50 per segment. A U.S. domestic segment fee around $4.20 per flight. So as you're seeing, all these fees, and it might vary from where you're going and where you're coming from and where you're flying to, but it's just crazy to see all these fees, these nickel and diming, and everything that you have to do is just not transparent. If you've been watching so far and you like this content, please go down and click the thumbs up button. That would really help out the channel. I appreciate it. And then if you'd give me a subscribe, that would be even better, so you get notification right when I upload. So back to the video. Thank you. When you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out, oh, is this going to include my luggage, or is this going to include one bag? It's just only going to include one carry item. It's just overwhelming to just figure out, hey, I want to go from here to here, and give me some prices. And then they're like, oh, you can't do this, and you can't bring that one. And then it's like, oh, what time do you want to be there? And so then it's going to be a different criteria depending on what time you need to be there. Then price can't really matter, because you got to be there at a certain time. But when price is your biggest issue, and I think for a lot of you guys, price is a huge concern, because when we're flying, we try to keep the costs down. And so we're trying to compare apples to apples, but that's just not possible. And it's just so crazy to see all these airlines are trying to nickel and dime us. And one of my viewers wrote in yesterday on my video and said that there was different mentality going on like 10 years ago, where boomers and all these executives had, hey, we just need to separate everything so you can pick and choose what you want. We're not going to include bundles. We're just going to make everybody. So what you use, you pay for, and if you don't use it, you don't do it. And now millennials are like, and Gen Zers are probably like, what the hell's going on? I'm sick and tired of this. Let me just bring my carry-on on it and not worry about it. And so then they're going to nickel and dime you wherever it is. So then it's like, oh, you want to not book it now, it's going to be $100 at the gate. Oh, if you do it on the app, it's cheaper. It's like, oh my gosh. And so then everybody makes a cut. And it's like, how is that even possible at the gate? They're like, hey, you need to bring a backpack that's larger than what we do, the standard size. You gotta pay up. And so then it's like, do I want to spend $200 and have it all included and fly with American? Or am I gonna fly Spirit and kind of take my chances? Hopefully they don't catch it, or maybe they just don't give a shit today and just do it like that. But that's the whole airline industry, right? They're all just trying to make a buck, because all of them, when you look at the stocks, I have the stock chart right here. The airlines, they're just not doing well because labor went up, prices went up, but there's only so much you can pay for a flight till you're like, nah, I'll drive or do something else. And I'm not talking about going from the West Coast to East Coast, but other like shorter trips that you're trying to fly to, like from Las Vegas to the Bay Area, San Francisco, or other way around. It's like, if it's too much, it's like, oh, let me just get a rental car and let me just take that and do a 7-hour, 8-hour drive. And it saves me hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, depending on when and where you want to do it. Because then you got to rent a rental car. That might be so much more expensive in the Bay Area. So they're competing with people that have the internet now. Before, when everything wasn't as transparent, like, so to speak, in quotes, right, where you can just go online and figure it out, and you actually had to go to a booth and actually order your tickets and all that. That was like 10, 15 years ago. Then it was like, how do you do all that? And now we're just in a whole different time where you can do everything and you can be your own travel agent, and AI is here to help, but AI doesn't have access to all the websites because they don't want them or don't have contracts with Google Flights and all that. So you need to go and see what airline might fly from here to there, because Google doesn't index all the flights. So even though it is, so to speak, more transparent, it's not really, because you need to be savvy, look it all up, and trying to see where can I get the best amount, the shortest flight time with the least amount of stop for the most amount of comfort with the least amount of money. That's kind of how at least I do it. I think all of you guys probably try to do the same thing and figure it out. But it's just crazy when you're looking at Boeing. Also 17,000 layoffs, and that's 10% of their company. So that's going to be a whole nother thing that's going to impact all these deadlines for these planes that they had. And I know people have been texting me saying, hey, or writing me an email, they're on the hook for billions of dollars. And I told them back then, yes, they are, but they're just going to raise more money. And that's exactly what they did, because these executives, they're sitting there, and some of the stuff I would do too. If I was on their board, I would say, well, if they're not going to play ball, we're just going to let some of them go, cut some costs, and figure some other stuff out. And people have been telling me, oh, if they're going to offshore and if they're going to bring stuff to Mexico, good luck. The planes are just going to fall out of the sky. And I want to disagree with that. I'm going to say no. Because when you have assemblies, you can actually have quality control depending on where you manufacture. And Mexico's already manufacturing medical devices, and they're manufacturing a bunch of stuff for heart, like, I don't know what you call these, but you can look it up and you can see they have websites for attracting companies that do medical devices. I know Intuitive Surgical, that Ali used to work for, has a place in Mexico where they not quite assemble everything, but they put some of the components together and then they ship it and they do the rest of the assembly in the United States. And that is what all these other manufacturers might do too. They might say, hey, we'll manufacture some of the stuff in Mexico and then finalize the stuff in the United States. And I don't think there's going to be an issue too much, because how can it get worse when doors are flying off, quality control's not there? So how can it get worse than that? Plus, what a lot of people don't know is, because do have a pilot license, is that there's redundancies, right? There's like extra stuff. So if one of them fails, you still have the other one. If one of the fuel pump fails, you most likely have another one. And so all these So you have so you don't have to worry about these planes falling off the sky like other people said. So I'm not too worried about that. What I'm more worried about is what are we going to see when these carriers are going to file for bankruptcy? Because the government said that they're not going to allow JetBlue to buy Spirit. And whenever the government gets involved, it's always messy, and they always have good ideas and good intentions, but the outcome is always horrible. So what I mean by that is when the government says, you cannot, you're too big, you're a monopoly, let's split you up. And you can see that with Comcast and Xfinity and Cox and all that. Comcast was too big, they said we gotta split you guys up, and now there's Xfinity and all these other ones. They're all under the same umbrella. So they all have the same router, they all have the same stuff, but instead of having access to all the Wi-Fi points when you're out and about and you're on the Cox or whatever on the Wi-Fi plan, you can only do Xfinity because Comcast can't allow you to do it because it's technically a different company. And so what's going to happen with all these airlines is they're going to say, hey, we can't do it, we're going to file for bankruptcy. So one of these other major carriers is either going to buy these planes for dirt cheap, or it's going to buy some of the company for dirt cheap. And then what you wanted to not happen, that they're going to be too big, is exactly what happened. And so then it's so intricate. There's so many moving parts about acquisitions that it's not just black and white where you can say, hey, we got to do this and we got to do that, and then it's going to be a nice little deal, because there's going to be 2 HR departments, all this other stuff, and then they say, hey, we can cut some, trim some over here. We don't need that many flights to go from here to here, so we can save some of that. And yeah, it is absolutely crazy. And I don't think that this is what we should be doing, is limiting, hey, you can't acquire this company or you can't acquire this company, because American, Delta already have a monopoly. And so then JetBlue and Spirit are trying to kind of compete, but they can't do it. And there's new airlines popping up all the time where they're trying to come up with new low-cost carrier, Allegiant and Breeze and all these other companies, and trying to gain market share. So we will see how that's all going to turn out. But I'm telling you, if you are on the board, that's exactly what you would do. You would see if you can get acquired, because somebody gave them a line of credit, Spirit, and now we're going to see if they can turn it around. But it's really hard to turn the reputation around that Spirit has. And now I'm asking you, would you take Spirit and fly Spirit for $200, or would you spend the $40-50 more and fly American with some luggage, get some snacks on board where they're not going to try and nickel and dime you? And for me, I would fly Spirit, but I would just say, hey, I don't need the snacks, I don't need the luggage. If I don't, then I'm like okay with it. But normally I would say, nah, I'll just fly a carrier that has all the luggage, that can do all that, and not worry about it, because it's going to be, at the end of the day, once you upgrade to the nicer bundles, it's going to be really, really more expensive actually than flying with another airline, because they trick you and saying, oh, you can fly for $39 one way, and all of a sudden then they're like, oh, if you want a luggage, then it's going to cost you more. And oh, if you want to do that, then it's going to cost you more. And so at one point you're just there where you're like, hey, I could have just bought an American Airlines ticket in this, where I've been before. So really interesting. And when you're looking at about the business development on how to solve this problem is that they need to tear it down from the inside and say, hey, we got to make it more transparent. We got to offer better flights, and we got to polish our image. And how do you do that? You gotta start with your employees. Make sure your employees know what the vision is, know what the goal is, and tell them, hey, I know we had some hiccups in the past about, planes being shot, going to Haiti and all that kind of stuff. And so what we want to do is we really want to actually brand up, I would say. I would call it brand up. Increase the brand's visibility, increase the brand's just reputation. And I wouldn't do it with influencers, I wouldn't do it with ads. I would just try to do it with better experiences. So then when people go, you offer them better experiences. Be more lenient with the overhead luggage. be more lenient with having checked bags, and just being more lenient in general, and trying to be the new airline that's like, hey, I know we had some past. It's going to take you a little while. It's going to probably take you a few years to do it, because a brand transition from being this low-cost shitty carrier to being like, hey, it's nice, but it's cheap, so it's okay. That's going to take you some time, because the reputation just wasn't there during all these TikTok influencers that came out, and then they charged $60 for each luggage pack, for each luggage at the gate, because they said, oh, we're going to give the gate agents some money, some kickback, if they just charge everybody $60. That is very hurtful for the brand, because these people, like I always say, if you're a business owner, if you're owner of a corporation, and Hertz did that with the unlimited miles thing, if you know that one, that was the guy who said, oh, we have unlimited miles on the car, and then they charged him $10,000. These people, the news doesn't say, hey, this shop, this John Doe charged him $10,000. No, it's always the company, it's always Hertz, then Hertz has a crisis on their hand. And it wasn't the gate agents, it wasn't John Doe, it wasn't Mary, no, it was Spirit Airlines. So you got to be so protectful of your brand. And the bigger you grow, the more you lose control over the brand. And so you got to reel these people in, offer them training, make sure that they know what they're working for, and either increase their benefits that doesn't cost you much with giving them flights for their family, and incentivizing them to speak highly of the brand and be a brand ambassador for your company, rather than just say, hey, we're going to pay Beyonce $10 million to fly Spirit once, and so kind of run an ad campaign like that. No, give it to your people and they will pay you back. If they're proud of going to work because they work for Spirit Airlines, all of a sudden you will see them turn around and endorse your product. And there's no such better thing than actually have your employees endorse your own product, because that's how you're going to grow the brand back and revive Spirit. Let me know what you guys think. Love talking to you guys. Let me know what topic I should cover in the comment section below. If you haven't, follow and like me on LinkedIn. Let's connect, let's chat. And if you're looking for a job, also DM me down below on LinkedIn or wherever. And I love talking to you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.